they sprang up dozens of early small settlements of Chalcolithic age. They inaugurated the Bronze Age. Villages developed into towns and cities in due course of time. Till the beginning of the 20th century, historians were unaware of the Indus Valley Civilization, which flourished in northwestern India about 4,500 years ago. The Archaeological Survey of India excavated village Harappa on the banks of Ravi, district Montegomery, now in Pakistan, in 1921 CE. The ruins of the hidden city under sand came up next year in 1922 CE. R.D. Banerjee excavated Mohenjodaro, Mound of Dead, in Larkana district of Sindh, Punjab. Mohenjodaro was a bigger city than that of Harappa, but the culture was same. Scholars, after the study of the archaeological remains, found that a highly developed ancient civilization of the world had been unearthed, which was contemporary to ancient civilizations of Mesopotamia, Egypt, and China. It was named the Indus Valley Civilization or the Harappan culture. It was named the Harappan civilization because Harappa, now in Sahiwal district of Pakistan, was the first site to be discovered in 1921. It existed around 2500 BCE to 1500 BCE, though the decline started from 1700 BCE. Later, many other sites have been excavated in India, such as Rupar in Punjab, Kalibangan in Rajasthan, Lothal, Rangpur in Gujarat. In addition to these, some other sites are identified, that is, Banawali in Haryana, Alamgirpur in Uttar Pradesh, Daimabad in Maharashtra, and Manda in Jammu and Kashmir. The relics found at all these sites are identical with those of Harappa and Mohenjodaro. Area and extent. The Harappan culture spreads over an area stretching for more than 1,000 kilometers from north to south and more than 1,600 kilometers west to east. The evidences suggest that almost 13 lakh square kilometers were occupied by the people of Indus Valley Civilization, an area bigger than present-day Pakistan. So far, archaeologists have discovered 250 sites and 8 big cities have been unearthed. Sources of Harappan culture. Our knowledge about Harappan culture mainly depends on archaeological evidences found during excavation at various sites in the Indus Valley. As the Indus script has not been deciphered so far, there are no literary sources. Ruins of ancient cities, buildings, potteries, seals, toys, tools, and weapons throw light on the Harappan culture. Special features of Harappa and Mohenjodaro. Town planning system. The Indus civilization flourished around cities. The ruins of the cities, so far unearthed, show remarkable town planning and excellent system of drainage and sanitation of the Indus Valley civilization. The city was the heart of the civilization. Both at Harappa and Mohenjodaro and also at Kalibangan, the city was divided into 2 main parts. The higher and upper portion of the city was called citadel. It was built on a raised ground. It was protected by a construction which looked like a fort. These high walls protected the citadel from recurring floods of the Indus River. It was perhaps the administrative block inhabited by the ruling class. It enclosed important buildings like the Great Bath, the granaries, and the town hall. The other parts of the town was lower in height than the former, and common men lived in this area. The lower town was much bigger than the citadel. The houses were generally of 1 or 2 stories. Streets. The main streets of Indus Valley ran from north to south and east to west, intersecting one another at right angles. The streets were broad, varying from 9 feet to 34 feet. The streets had rounded corners suitable for carts and other wheeled traffic to turn easily. Lanes were joined with the streets. Each lane had a public well. Street lamps were provided for welfare of public. Buildings and houses. The nature of the buildings of Harappa and Mohenjodaro shows that the town dwellers were divided into various social classes. The rich and the ruling class lived in multi-roomed spacious houses, and the poorer section lived in small houses. Encroachment on public roads or lanes by building houses was not permitted. Smaller houses had 2 rooms, while larger houses had many rooms. There were courtyards attached to big buildings. The buildings belonging both to the rich and the poor were plain and comfortable to live in. Some of the buildings were multi-storied. Most of the houses had baths, wells, and covered drain connected with street drain. Ordinary buildings had little ventilation arrangement, as doors and windows were rarely fixed in the outer walls. The doors were made of wood. Large buildings had spacious doors. Most of the houses were built of burnt brick, which were of equal sizes. The staircases of big buildings were solid. The roofs were flat and were made of wood. Drainage system. The most striking feature of the Harappan civilization is that the Indus Valley people had constructed their drainage system on very scientific lines. House drains emptied themselves into the main drains, which ran under the main streets and below many lanes. The drainage system and drains were covered with bricks or stones and were provided with inspection taps and holes at several intervals for inspection. Housewives were expected to use pits in which heavier part of the rubbish would settle down, while only sewage water was allowed to drain off. All soak pits and drains were occasionally cleaned by workmen. In every house, there was a well-constructed sink, and water flowed from the sink into the underground sewers in the streets. Every care was taken to ensure that the housewives did not throw refuse or dirt into the drains. The elaborate drainage system of the Harappan people shows that they had developed a high sense of health and sanitation. The Great Bath. One of the largest buildings of the civilization was the Great Bath, measuring 180 feet by 108 feet. The bathing pool, 39 feet long, 28 feet wide, and 8 feet deep, was in the center of quadrangle, surrounded with verandas, rooms, and galleries. A flight of steps led to the pool. The walls of the pool were made of burnt bricks, coated with plaster and a layer of natural tar, which made the pool watertight. The pool was filled with water from a large well situated in the same complex. Periodic cleaning of the pool was done by draining off the used water into a big drain. The Great Bath building had 6 entrances. The Great Bath was used for bathing on religious occasions. Granaries. Another large building in Harappa was the Great Granary, which was made about 45 meters long and 15 meters wide. It was meant to store food grains. It had lines of circular brick platforms for pounding grain. There was barrack-like quarters for workmen. The granary also had smaller halls and corridors. There were 2 rows of granaries. Each row had 6 granaries. The Great Granary of Mohenjodaro was designed with bays to receive carts delivering crops from the countryside, and there were ducts for air to circulate beneath this stored grain to dry it. All the granaries were built close to the river bank so that grains could be easily transported with the help of boats. The Asbly Hall. An important feature of Mohenjodaro was its 24-feet pillared hall. It had 5 rows of pillars with 4 pillars in each row. Kiln-baked bricks were used to construct these pillars. Probably it was the Assembly Hall or the ruler's court. It is said that it also housed the municipal office, which had the charge of town planning and sanitation. The hall was also used for religious assemblies. Environment. At the beginning of Indus Valley civilization,
In northwestern part of India, the climate was moist. It had heavy rainfall. The land was fertile and covered with forests. Life of the people. The very fact that there was almost near absence of weaponry and lack of defensive walls suggests there was less or no warfare. Thus, the Indus Valley civilization may have been a theocracy, a state unified by priesthood rather than a kingly conqueror. It is also possible that the government may be of leaders selected according to their ability. It is certain that the spread of Harappan system in other areas could neither be colonization nor of political expansion of any form. It was due to permeation of the Harappan socio-culture. The presence of huge granaries at Harappa suggests that the wealth was accumulated by some civil authority, which, in turn, was controlled by some central authority. Indus Valley civilization people were prosperous, but dwelling houses suggests that at least three distinct social groups were present. First group consisted of those who ruled and priests who lived in the citadel. Second group was of merchants, craftsmen, etc., who lived in multi-storied buildings of many rooms in lower town. And third group had single-room quarters in which poor labourers lived. Food. The people ate wheat and barley mainly, which they ground in millstones and baked into bread. They liked fruits, particularly banana and pomegranates, milk and milk products. They also ate vegetables, fish and meat. Dress and adornment. The Indus Valley people were the first to grow cotton in the world. They produced yarn, as spindles of clay and metal have been found in excavations, and developed the weaving technique which fetched them a fortune. Needles and buttons have been found, but they preferred loose dress, mostly unstitched. Men wore long pieces of cloth wrapped around themselves. Women wore a short skirt which was held at the waist and wrapped a shawl around their shoulder. Men kept their hair short and trimmed their beard. Women kept long hair and enjoyed dressing them in various ways. They used combs and hairpins to set their hair in various styles and decorated them. They loved cosmetics and perfumes, used powder on their faces, painted their lips and cheeks to look beautiful and charming. Polished bronze mirrors have been found unearthed. Ornaments. The ornaments were made of gold, silver, copper, bronze, ivory and shells, etc. Necklaces, armlets and finger rings were common to both men and women. Women also wore waist girdles, earrings, anklets and bracelets. Play and amusement. They preferred indoor games such as gambling. Dance and music was common to all, as well as keeping and playing with pet animals like dog, cat and birds. They took care of children with toys, dolls, whistles, toy carts, marbles, rattles and terracotta animals. Artistic skills. A. Painting. Different kinds of designs and figures on earthenware and utensils were made by them. They drew men, animals, birds and plants, etc. and painted them very well. They also made geometrical dots and line designs. B. Sculptural art. Remains are small in number and size. Mostly they show various dancing postures. A broken sculpture of a priest, shawl-clad yogi is an important find. C. Terracotta art. About 3/4 of the terracotta art is of animals and remaining are other types of toys to please the children. Mother Goddess baked clay figurines were also in demand for worship. D. Bronze statue of a dancing girl from Mohenjo-daro is a good example of depicting culture, hairstyle and ornaments of Indus civilization. It appears that she is in relaxing pose after the dance. E. Carving. Indus Valley people showed praiseworthy artistic skill in carving various animals with few letters of the script on top of the seal. The seals were generally made of ivory, soapstone, leather, metal and wood.